Hey, I salute you on your magazine, straight up. You know, content is king, right? You know, and the power that lies behind the throne is the crowd. The people, you know, feel you. You know what I mean? So, it's good, you know, because my story sits at the intersection of a lot of different streets. You know what I mean? So from the street level to the prison level to the academic level to the legal level, right? You know what I mean? And so it's really good because I try to hit a lot of diverse audiences. How it lies in the music and the hip hop, the wrongful conviction, right? All these positions, right, is where I sit at. So in 90, you know, I'm old, right? So I'm like 52, right? In 90, I was a promoter. I had about $15,000 worth of equipment, but I was a little too, what you could say, too radical, too blackety black for Rockford, right? So where I was at, I was young, I was wild. I was a former gang member. I used to be a GD, right? I've been out since '87. And so basically, I was also recidivist. I had been to prison before. I have, you know, awarded the state. Moms gave me up. Daddy went crazy. No siblings, no aunts, uncles, no guidance, right? So I went through about 15 joints, 15 institutions, homes, and facilities from 14 to 17. And basically what that did, that made me a placemat. That institutionalization at an early age made me a placemat for the early on in my life for the prison system, adult prison system. And so, you know, I was a petty criminal, run around, you know, doing the typical hustle, right? But I kept on going to prison. So the way I caught this wrongful conviction case, as I told you, I was doing the promoting. I was promoting film, promoting music, promoting local groups. And I had sponsors, you know, but I was losing sponsors because my message was a little too hard and my approach was too hard. You know, angry blacks alienate the mainstream, and this is a conservative town. So basically, I had made enemies within the police department, and when you always hustle, you always have street enemies. So basically, man, someone accused me of something I didn't do, right? I faced the death penalty. I wound up getting natural life. And to show you the degree of animus from the government, the FBI actually gave someone a plea bargain on their bank robbery charge to testify against me, not at my trial, but at my sentencing hearing to try to get me the death penalty. I was facing the death penalty. So that show you right there, just you make enemies, you don't even know you're making enemies. So basically, I get the life sentence. I'm trying to be there for my children. I'm trying to, you got the whole anger, the depression, all that. So as we click into the late 90s, I seen an article. Actually, this is about 2000, because I lost my first direct appeal. I let the appellate defenders or appellate pretenders know, look, this picture show the gun doesn't match. I'm innocent, but basically, no one was trying to hear that. And what has saved my life to this day was me demanding that my trial lawyers get ballistic testing on the gun, right? For those who don't know, ballistic testing is where they get the bullets from crime scenes and they compare them to other guns to see if the markings on the bullets match to connect the weapon to a unsolved crime. So at my trial, they claimed that a gun they retrieved from my house, which was a registered gun in my girlfriend's name, she's legal gun, they claimed that this was the gun, and they got her, and she was pregnant. And they questioned her, threatened to take her kids, questioned like 12 hours, the whole thing. And she made statements against me. But then she wound up recanting. She was like, look, she was coarse, she was sick, they was threatening to take her kids. And so at my trial, when she testified for me, they wound up sending her to prison for perjury, for flipping back and forth. But as I also stated, I demanded my lawyers get ballistic testing. Now, this is important because I'm also a lawman. I was a jailhouse lawyer. So as a jailhouse lawyer, I come to learn, I come to see how a lot of poor defendants who have public defenders who assert their innocence and can prove their innocence through forensic testing. The public defender's office or appointed lawyers or even lawyers that you pay don't get the actual testing, the forensic testing that's needed to show innocence. So this here wound up being one of the cases where my lawyer actually listened to me and got the ballistic testing. The ballistic testing they got was through an independent lab because you got to remember that Illinois State Police was jumping up and down talking about the gun match, the gun match, the gun match. But my independent lab that tested gun wound up like they normally testify for the state. They normally testify for the Fed, for the FBI. So they're credible, right? They're a credible lab. So basically what happens when they're testifying for me, they have no credibility now. It's what you call credibility deficit, where basically just because you attach yourself to my name, now you're not believable. And even though he had photographs which showed the bullets don't match, it just didn't matter. It didn't matter because during the course of my trial, they brought in all these other crimes, and they just really kind of dragged you through the mud. Even though I had eyewitness say I'm not the person, you got footprints at the crime scene, that's tennis shoes, as a snowy field going the opposite way, they claim. There's no footprints going in the way that, like combat boots. I used to be, like, blacked out, right? All black everything, in the early 90s. So despite all these contradictions in evidence and even alternative suspects, they ignored that, and they just really hung me out to dry. So going back to I'm in this bit now, right? I'm taking my ass to the library. I'm in the law library all the time, right? So I wind up seeing an article that in the Chicago Tribune about how ballistics, advances in ballistics, and how the Illinois State Police using what's called IBIS, right? Integrated Ballistic Identification System, right? Which basically means like how they do the DNA testing or the fingerprint testing, where computers use algorithms in order to connect other crimes and defendants and stuff like that to the crime scene. So when I seen this, I'm like, man, this can help, because while I'm at trial, they hollering, we don't use ballistic photos. So they discredited my experts' ballistic photos because the industry of ballistic identification and the Illinois State Police claim, like, man, we don't use ballistic photos because you can't capture a three-dimensional object in a two-dimensional field, which is bullshit. Everyone knows. Everybody uses pictures. That's called best evidence. So when I see this IBIS, when I see this integrated ballistic identification system jump off, that's being used for law enforcement, and later on they use it to track the DC sniper, right? I see this, and I'm like, man, that can prove my innocence right there. So as we proceed, I asked for gun tests up under this, because Illinois at that time, they allowed for forensic testing for DNA to show actual innocence. So about 2001, they telling me, like, the courts is shooting me down, and they're telling me, the appellate court told me in 2002 decision, like, man, we don't afford ballistic testing, only DNA testing, because the statute is clear and the law has to be changed. And little did they know, they gave me the incentive to change the law in Illinois. So I'm fighting also, too. I learned, despite what I learned in law, like, I got me a correspondence, I got me a grant to do correspondence classes to learn law. I became a jailhouse lawyer. I got certified paralegal. But at the same time, I'm coming to understand, if you ain't got no lawyer, ain't nothing moving. It don't matter what you're talking about. So I had filed various lawsuits and got them to hold the gun so they couldn't destroy the gun. And I caught a blessing. I went to SEG. I went to segregation and wound up doing 6 months in a hole because a warden come to me. This dude, he racist. He come from down south, right? So he sees me wearing some beads, some prayer beads on my neck in the chow hall, and he's like, what are those? I'm like, these are prayer beads, sir. And he's like, are you allowed to have them? I'm like, yes, sir. I'm in the chow hall. It's people everywhere, right? So I was kind of just being a sarcastic bastard. So He basically said, he looks at me, right? He looks me in the eye. He's like seeing Black Panthers and Malcolm X and Harriet Tubman and Assata Shakur. I'm looking in his eyes. I'm seeing, slave ships and plantations, right? The whole nine, Ku Klux Klan. And so he goes, I don't like your attitude. So I go, we don't like your attitude either, sir. You brought much misery and suffering to the land. Bam, that get me straight to segregation, right? I got ice on the walls. I was in what's called F House in Stateville. It's a historical cell house that just recently got shut down for the conditions, subhuman conditions, right? It's a historical building because it's the only panopticon or roundhouse. It was the last one standing in the United States, right? So it's a historical place, right? But it was in a state of dilapidation, right? I refer to my captors as maximum security slumlords because of the conditions of the prison. So I got ice on the wall. I got millions of roaches, no extra blankets. It's freezing. And I got 6 months in the hole for my statement to the warden. But during that time, to show you how God worked, during that time, I write an article, right? I write an article, and this article, it goes into a newsletter called Stateville Speaks. Ran older dude who is an advocate for people with long-term sentences and death penalty, which they still had at that time. So when he get my idea and he print it in his newsletter, he is also at this time sitting on a committee in Springfield, Illinois, our capital, with the state legislators trying to get Illinois prisoners parole. He's acting like a lobbyist to try to change the conditions of confinement and reduce sentencing aspects, right? Everyone knows about the Truth in Sentencing bill and the inequality that affects poor people, minorities when it comes to sentencing. So the legislators was like, no, the committee shut them down. They was like, no, we're not giving them Negroes parole, right? Not in those words, of course, but the effect. So he gives them my idea. Now, my idea is real simple. The law in Illinois should keep up with the technology. They should be able to allow ballistic testing with this computer algorithm called IBIS that I spoke upon a few minutes ago as a means to show actual innocence. So, my idea becomes a bill, right? It becomes a bill. And then, as a result of that bill before our governor, Rod Blagojevich, gets cuffed up and goes to jail himself, he signed my idea into law. So now, by the grace of God, I've done effected a change in the state law. So I have been writing thousands and thousands of letters to lawyers and all that because I knew by myself I wasn't getting out. I got a little term like pro se gets no play, right? If you represent yourself, forget about it. No one's walking out of prison and state without holding his hand when it comes to life sentences, murder sentences, et cetera, long-term sentencing. So I finally got a powerhouse law firm called Jenner and Block. And Jenner and Block, they basically had told me no 3 times. I also got Northwestern Center on Wrongful Convictions, and they told me no 3 times. But I kept writing them like they was my baby mama or something. Like I'm Adam. I'm writing everybody. Someone's going to listen to me, right? Someone's going to hear my story, and someone's going to help me get the hell up out this hellhole that I'm in, right? The whole time I'm fighting to keep my kids in my life. I'm sending money from cases I work on. I'm building something called kid culture, right? From behind bars, right? Professors is using my material in game peace circles and at colleges and high schools. And, so I'm moving not just by myself, but with other, what you call jail daddies, poets, writers, artists, rappers, musicians. You know what I mean? Like we building. We building. So as it proceeds, I wind up getting Jenner and Block and Northwestern Center on Wrongful Convictions. And the first time they asked for the gun testing, my judge was like, nah. But the appellate court, when we appealed it, sent it right back and demanded we get the gun testing. Illinois State Police didn't even want to do the testing in the manner that was prescribed. We had to get a court order for them to even do what they were supposed to do. So we get the gun test, and they run it through the computer, and they were salty, man, they were salty nuts, right? They was, right, because they had been using this algorithm in IBIS to only lock people up. It was never used. I'm the first person that they use it to exonerate people. And so I got the email, seeing everything, right, seeing their attitude towards me and everything, this whole process. So the algorithm, when they run it through the computer, it's a score system from 150 being the highest score down to 1 being the lowest score, and of likelihood that the gun from my apartment would match the crime scene, right? Because I knew I didn't do it. I wasn't worried about it, right? So my gun didn't even score 1. My gun was 0. So then they laid there. They couldn't even believe it. They laid there and ran the test again. 0. Likelihood of matching. But of course, you know, people are slow to admit their mistakes, especially organizations and agencies and politicians and state attorneys and police and all of that. So my firm, General Block, went and got one of the best experts in the country called John Murdoch. And this dude is like the grandfather in the game as far as when it comes to gun testing and connecting bullets to crime scenes. So basically, what he do, he tests gun, and it don't match. He produced photos, all that. So then the Illinois State Police wanted to test it again. And so now they say, man, they can't match the bullets. So they called the actual the forensic expert from the Illinois State Police who testified against me in 93, 94, and he looked at it and said, well, the bullets used to match, but they don't match now. Now everybody knows that's fugazi, right? You know what I mean? Bullets don't change on their own. Stop playing, right? So long story short, I win the evidentiary hearing. You know, the Illinois State Police tried to claim the shell casing match, even though they couldn't match the bullets no longer. But the computers say no match with shell casings and bullets. Stop playing. So when you looking back at this long haul that I did, you could say, damn, this dude asked for gun testing in 2000. It took him 12 years to get the actual testing. Then it took another 2-3 years before he got his conviction overturned. But then there's still always a caveat. There's always a rub. There's always a downside. So even though I won my evidentiary hearing in the circuit court on actual innocence, they didn't see fit to let me go. They hooked me up to something what's called pretrial apparatus, and they gave me a new trial. I didn't fight to be halfway free. I fought a fight to be free, right, and to manifest kid culture, to raise up independent artists, to lay there and do things and promote and put things on the map that has a charitable bend to it, right? You know what I mean? Like the money that we generate and the money that our artists and stuff will generate and the books that I sell, everything, we will always give back. We will always give back. So that's where it stands right now. I'm building the kid culture movement. I'm trying to shake these people off me because I've been in all types of trouble since I've been out, but nothing major, just basically smoke some weed, and they forced me into a drug program because I smoke weed. You know, it's just crazy, right? And then I got like severe back problems. I had severe injury because I was working a job this summer, and all that time in that prison had radium water, the radioactive water. The guards were told not to drink it. A lot of people died of cancer. So there's a good chance that those conditions have taken a toll upon me. Even though I'm halfway free, I'm still like, now I'm in a new prison, like a body of pain, right? So just dealing with pretrial services, getting ready for this new trial. My other set of lawyers from Lovey & Lovey, right, one of the best firms in the United States when it comes to wrongful convictions, took my case, filed the wrongful conviction suit just a few days ago, right? So I'm fighting still. I'm fighting for my freedom. I'm not worried about a new trial, but I'm fighting this system on a local level, appellate level, because the state's attorney's office went and got went and filed an appeal to try to block me from getting a new trial. But my position is I wasn't supposed to get a new trial. I was supposed to be free. I went on actual innocence. And so it's just been a real struggle this year trying to bring my kids back together, back in my life, trying to promote some positivity here in Rockford. So what we're going to try to do this summer, we're going to try to promote a concert at a 10,000-seat auditorium and try to bring some super groups this way to pack the auditorium and then use that as a vehicle to, like, give away a grant to a shorty go to school or a few grants and put some opening acts on that are positive. They ain't got to be soft. We ain't, you know, niggas ain't soft where I come from, but it's got to have that message, right? You know, it's got to have that message. You know, what's popping right now is drill music and this kill, 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 murder, murder, murder mentality. But so I'm coming from the perspective like, you're going to do what you want to do. Just recognize the consequences of the act of where you're going with that lifestyle, and your life is more valuable than your image or some image sold to you by some rapper or some nigga up the block, right? So that's basically where we at. We're getting in gear, and we're going to take off, and we're going to put I Am Kid Culture on the map, IamKidCulture.org. We're going to get my book juking. It's a book I wrote basically while I was in prison, and it's like the urban Harry Potter with redemptive aspects to it, right? You know, the father's locked up and the whole nine, right? But it has this other element to it that teaches shorties, our shorties are lost out there in them streets. So we trying to reach them in a vehicle which they identify with and that they understand, right? So I got a book called The Adventures of Kid Culture and the World Explorers, Volume 1 in the Queen's Chamber. We got it up on Amazon. We got it on our site. So basically, we're going to grind, and we're going to market, and we're going to move like a corporation, but we're going to have the heart and soul of grassroots organizations. Also, what I do like legal advice, like consulting. We got a page up, wrongful conviction consultants. People from all over the country be writing me, not just writing me, emailing me, calling, getting legal advice, right? So basically, what I've been through, this body of knowledge that's in this peanut head, right, I'm putting it to work to help others and the families of the wrongful convicted to navigate the system. Because you'd be surprised, you'd be surprised the limited knowledge that the majority of us are drawn from, right? There's a saying in the streets that say, there's a saying in literature that says your arms is too short to box with God. But niggas coming up out the streets, they go to jail. And they deal with these courts, and their arms are too short to box with this system. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is practical application, to be able to bring the people the knowledge of what it takes to deal with the system, to be themselves, not follow bogus trends that send them off and then their life is gone, young, deaf, or you stuck in prison for the rest of life for something you didn't do, or even young violent offenders who get natural life, so, 15-year-olds and 12-year-olds get natural life, right? So I sit at the intersection of many, many, many ideas and causes. So this is where I'm at right now. I was released in April of 2017. The terms and conditions of my release is to be around basically no one in the hood, no gang members, no parolees, prisoners, probationers, court supervision. It's my responsibility if I meet someone and I associate with them, I have to give the name to law enforcement. I'm not doing all that. I'm not, so my life is really a small circle. They said I can't have a cell phone. I can't be on social media. So other people have to run pages for me. Other people have to get my story out there. That's why I really appreciate you. Other conditions, I have to call a drug hotline and see if they want me in pee in the cup. I got to go pee in the cup every week. I'm forced into a drug program because I smoke weed, and then through my injury, I got in more trouble because I kept on being put across by what type of medication I could or could not be prescribed. So I just basically got in my head like, man, fuck y'all. I got to take care of this. The pain in your body is greater than the pain in the ass system. another condition of release. I can't leave where I'm at, Rockford, without permission. And I have a 7 p.m. curfew, 7 to 7 curfew. And, they got me caught up. Yeah, Rockford is about an hour and a half from Chicago. It was the second largest city in Illinois. And it's there's a lot of poor folks down here stuck in the hood, marginalized, criminalized, and connected to the system. I think you said it in the beginning when we first started talking. We don't know our history. But I've been blessed. I have a keen eye on history. So my eye on history showed me there was never a time America didn't have its slaves. So I understand, slavery is abolished except for those convicted felons. And that's the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution. So I'm a 13th Amendment slave coming up out here, right? So if I understand this, that the system has found a way to convert to convert their forms of slavery into more subtle ways where you could just put me in a cage and make money off me. I could sit there and watch Love and Hip Hop till my eyes bleed, but you're still making money off me just by me being here. So on one hand, on a personal level, it's very hard. It's very hard for me to deal with these conditions. I have all types of psychological problems. I got PTSD, adjustment disorder, excoriation disorder. I got all types of issues going on in my head, right? So I'm not going to sit here and act like, I'm not angry. I am angry. But I also know that black anger in 2018 is impotent. You have to be able to vocalize things and articulate things in a way where you don't alienate people, and you have to control yourself and control your emotions. So on the other hand, I understand that this is just a system, and it's probably not even personal. It's not personal to them. It's just business as usual. So since it's business as usual, let me be about my business and help educate those who need to be educated, who want to be educated, who want to get up out the track. So I take it also as an opportunity and honor to be able to make something in my life, because honestly, if I stayed free, I may have never seen 1999. I may have been dead in the streets because I've been in and out of prison. I was running the streets. So I have to take the blessing and the curse in the same swallow.